Whilst I think lessons with a good voice teacher is one of the best ways to improve your voice, the reality is not all of us will have access to this. So today, I want to share with you, if I had to start from scratch again, how would I get better at learning to sing? Now, real quick, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ivan. I'm a voice teacher who works with students from all around the world. And really on this channel, my goal is to make learning how to sing as simple and as easy as possible. So if that is up your lane, consider subscribing wherever you're joining me from. If you want to inspire our next episode, let me know down in the comments below what you want me to talk about next. Now, I need to caveat, even if you follow these next 3 tips, you follow them exactly to a T, some of you will see results, but the reality is some of you also won't. I personally believe learning to sing is one of the harder instruments out there, purely because you cannot see the instrument like you might see a piano or a guitar. And so sometimes it can be hard to self-correct, to self-teach, but we won't know if we try. So what I can suggest here is set yourself a time limit, block off the next 3 to 6 months and even set a reminder on your calendar and just focus on executing these next 3 steps. And if at the end of this you see great results, then that is perfect. Just keep going. Now, if you don't see results, or maybe you feel like you've actually gotten worse, then I want you to book in a lesson with me. I've taught so many people who have tried to do it on their own for years or even decades, only for us to resolve it in the matter of weeks, if not months. Okay, so what are the 3 tips? Tip number 1. So the first tip here is realize the resources that you have access to. Without voice lessons, you don't have a trained ear. You don't have someone who can give you specific exercises or someone who can tailor a singing program to you. But that doesn't mean you don't have anything at all. The internet is a great place. And if you know where to look, you can have a lot of great tools at your disposal. The first one here is you need to find a way to study the basic lingo, some of the basic concepts, basic kind of fundamentals of singing. Now, of course, YouTube is going to be one of the best places for this. And this is why, I post these tutorials, but there are also podcasts or, singing programs that you can kind of work through at your own pace. Now, be careful here because when you're learning on your own and you're watching these videos, you're trying to absorb the concepts, sometimes we can get into a bit of information overload, and especially when different teachers are telling you certain things. And so at times it feels like you're being pulled in all these different directions. What I can suggest here is if you're feeling stuck, yes, jump onto YouTube, jump onto these online resources, but learn just enough so you can get back into practicing. Now, the second resource that you're looking for is a way to listen back to yourself, because once you have the lingo, once you have the concepts, really it's bringing it back into practice, actually working on your voice, maybe running through scales and listening back to yourself. Now, we're all very lucky because with technology now, even just recording on your phone and listening back, that can be a great way. Some of you who have access to some more fancier gear, recording yourself in a DAW, having a mic setup, that can make things even easier. But ultimately, we just need a way to listen back to ourselves. Now, the third resource that you need to look for, especially when you're trying to learn on your own, is you need to still find a way to get some external feedback. Because sometimes when we're practicing on our own, we study concepts by ourselves, sometimes we might feel like we understand it. But when we're actually singing, when we're actually doing exercises, our technique is like completely off. And so getting feedback from others is going to be really, really important. Now, for example, there are some communities on Reddit r/singing, or if you go to Discord, there's also a lot of places where you can also get feedback. You're not always going to get a professional opinion, but this can be a good start. This brings me to tip number 2, which is I want you to focus on the fundamentals. Now, I have a slightly different definition of fundamentals because a lot of people, when they think fundamentals, they think easy, they think beginners, they think I don't need to do it because I've been seeing it for some time. But personally for me, fundamentals for me means what are those key skills, those key movements that apply to 90%, if not all of my singing. So for example, runs, singing runs might be cool, but they aren't a fundamental. You don't really need to have them to sound good. Vibrato, once again, sounds really cool, but it's not something that is necessary. And by nature, if I just focus on getting really good at these couple of fundamentals, then this will help me improve my voice the most. So what are the fundamentals? For me, it is these 2 to 3 skills. The first one here is being able to just blow air consistently. Without air, we won't make a sound. Number 2, how does it feel like to change pitch without anything else changing? That fundamental movement of getting those chords to stretch, which allows us to change pitch. Number 3, how does it feel like to change volume without anything else changing? aka bring those chords together so they resist against more airflow. Really, if you wanted to improve your singing and focus on the correct things, these are the 2 to 3 things that you want to focus on, especially the second one and the third. Now, the key word here is without anything else changing, because so many times, as we're moving up and down a scale, let's say on a no, we change the volume, we change the vowel, no, 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 where we kind of do all these extra things that aren't necessary. Now, if this is the first time you're hearing the fundamentals being explained like this, then I highly recommend checking out the previous episode or episode 129 because you'll see me guide a student through these fundamentals. Tip number 3, learning to play your own scales. YouTube warm-ups or videos can be a great start, especially if you're looking for something that you can do conveniently. But the problem I have with YouTube warm-ups or videos sometimes is so much of the process of getting better at singing is often just deliberate practice, being able to notice when things are correct versus when they aren't correct. And the challenge is when you're doing these kind of warm-ups or these kind of scales, often we'll kind of just rush through them, we kind of brush past them, and we never really get the chance to feel correct execution. And so this is where learning to play scales has been really, really helpful. It allows me to slow things down or repeat it when I'm not doing the exercises as correctly as I can. And simply just going back and forth and trying to fix it, this is a big part of deliberate practice. Now, I can hear some of you wondering, but Ivan, what if I don't know any music theory? Well, next week, I'm going to tackle this problem. I'm going to show you exactly how to build your own scales even if you don't know any music theory. Yes, it does take time to learn to play these scales. It does take time to get good at them, but when you do get good at them, it pays off long term. Anyway, that is all. These are the 3 tips or 3 areas that I personally would focus on if I had to learn singing from scratch without any voice lessons. The first one here is realizing you've got more resources than you think. The second one here is focusing on those fundamentals. The third one is learning to play your own scale. My name is Ivan. I'm your voice teacher, and I'll see you next week where I'll show you how to play your own scales even if you don't know any music theory. Take care.